All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jim. Welcome to Beyond Baroque. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater. I think most of you know me, but my name is Quentin Ring. I'm Beyond Baroque's Executive Director. And we have a very special evening for you tonight. Marsha de la O is here to read extra special treats with Kim Young and Holaday Mason reading as well. It's going to be a good night. But before we get started, I did want to start by acknowledging our presence here on Tongva land. Beyond Baroque acknowledges the wrong done to indigenous peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent dispossession of their land. As an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting indigenous writers and communities. I know many of you know Beyond Baroque pretty well, but it's always good to remind everyone that we are very much a space for poets and writers. We are dedicated to the artistic possibilities of language, and we do that in a variety of ways. We have an extensive workshops program. Our Monday night fiction workshop is online, as well as our Wednesday night poetry workshop. We have individual master classes and intensive workshops as well. Jim Cushing, who's here tonight, just taught one earlier today. We have a reading and performance series pretty much every weekend right here in this theater. We have mainly poetry readings, but also fiction, nonfiction, we have film, we have some dance, we have some music. We've got some pretty great programs coming up. On Thursday, we have Lynn Thompson reading from her new book, Blue on a Blue Palette. She's going to be joined by Pam Ward, who's also going to read, and they're going to have a little bit of a conversation, so it should be a good night. Next Friday, we're going to have J. Ryan Stradall and Lou Matthews reading some fiction, as well as the poet Allison Turner. And then on Saturday, we have Dorianne Locks will be back to read. So that should be a good weekend next weekend. So please do come back. You can see more about what we have coming up at beyondbaroque.org. As you have noticed, this event is free. We very much depend on the support of our members to keep events like this free, to support everything we do. I was just showing a few of you in the audience our beautiful garden back there. The support of our members helped make that possible. And we really do appreciate anybody who's able to contribute financially. Memberships start as little as $60. $80 is dual membership. We have levels above that. If you are a member but haven't renewed in a while, you can renew in the bookstore with Jenna or online. If you aren't a member, we'd be incredibly grateful if you become one. You do get a free Beyond Baroque tote bag if you become a member tonight. So please do take advantage of that. And really just a big thank you to everybody who's able to contribute. I'd also say it would be great, not just to contribute to Beyond Baroque, but to support our authors by buying their books. We certainly have Marsha's book for sale. I'm sure she'd be willing to sign it. We also have Kim and Holiday's work as well. So please do pick those up in the bookstore.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry, my dear, are you okay?
Okay. I think we have a really wonderful program for everybody tonight. So I think it'd just be great to dive into that and start with our first reader, who is Kim Young, who is a writer, teacher, and author of the poetry book Night Radio, which is the winner of the Aga Ali Shahid Poetry Prize and finalist for the Kate Tufts Discovery Award. Tiger is a collection of prose poems and 2 poetry chapbooks. Her writing has appeared or is forthcoming in Alta, the Los Angeles Review of Books, Tri-Quarterly, the Cincinnati Review, and elsewhere. She edited for many years the literary journal Chaparral, which features interviews and new writing from folks like Maggie Nelson, Jericho Brown, Victoria Chang, and many others. She has currently worked on a hybrid book of memoir, journalism, and biography on the late poet Lee McCarthy. Please, everybody, welcome Kim Young.
It's so good to be here, and everyone has disappeared. Thank you, Quentin. Thank you, everyone. It's such an incredible honor to be at Beyond Broke, and it is amazing to be celebrating Marsha. I'm in this strange place in my life where, well, I hope you don't get mad that I say this, but I think I'm like the age you were when I met you now. It's been decades, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to be with Holaday to celebrate your work. And you've taught me so much as a person and as a poet. And I just watch you and I learn from you. And I was so honored to be asked to come read with you. So I'm going to read some poems from Tigers. And then I've got some new poems that I want to share. I was going over the reading list and I'm like, fuck, I can't make it too dark, Kim. So I've got, I wonder too, is this on YouTube? Are we doing YouTube? My 7-year-old and my husband might be watching. My 7-year-old was like, I love you, Mom, but like hearing people talk and say things, it's really boring, But Joe, if you're watching, I love you. Okay, so in an effort to keep it a little less dark, I think I'm going to try to look at both the loss and the love tonight. And I've been looking more toward what love means lately. So I'm going to start off with a poem called Bill Murray from Tigers. And late Murray is shirtless with an axe and a bottle of gin, and what's lovable, so Murray, is the way he wears the irony with the frailty, like how my husband leans over the stove, his glasses sliding down his nose, and I never believed his cockamamie notions about the living room slab sinking until I could see daylight shining through the ceiling, or his lament that the middle class is reeling toward a rental economy, and I hand him his slippers again, like Murray perched on the bed in that silk robe in Tokyo's Shibuya district, and like Murray and Charlotte, my husband's age dwarfs me, and Murray's character, his desire or lack of desire, the way desire on Murray's Wikipedia page points to multiple wives and mood swings and driving under the influence, and he's not handsome with that face, but I want to watch him anyway. And my husband tells me about the documentary where Murray goes around making real life cameos at house parties and beer gardens, and he wants to wake up and wake you up, like how a man's virility becomes a child sleeping in a dark room, still there, but tucked quietly inside. And my husband keeps forgetting his lecture notes and his medication. And like Murray, he slouches a bit, especially after cradling our young son against his frame, the baby warming my husband's body. They're breathing in sync. And then like Murray in his best film, my husband shuffles down the hallway after lifting our children night after night into himself, like he's drawing close something that was out wandering, the aging, creating a softening, Murray holding it all in as he's exiting. The skin is slack, but the tenderness is an opening. I'm going to read The Felons, and then I've got a couple new ones that I want to read, and then I want to hear Holaday and Marsha. The Felons. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us to shove a mouth. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us to shove an arm into the mouth of a Rottweiler if attacked from the side. They teach us that if you've killed a man, you make amends by raising your grandchildren. that the kids will play in a small fenced yard, that you button the thin child's shirt until he can do it for himself. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us not to reach over a man's plate for a salt shaker. We call the one with new white teeth Beaver. We call the felons who speak at 12-step meetings names like Pegleg Steve and Bloodbath Bob. We are 20-year-old girls sitting in a line on metal chairs. We are always lighting cigarettes. We are girls who have spent the summer pulling cold trays of French fries from the trash to eat. Girls who travel by Greyhound. We steal hair dye. You wouldn't believe what has happened to us. At the 12-step meetings, the felons teach us to aim like we're hunting wild javelina. They teach us how to instantly pull arrows from our quiver, that recovery is muscle memory, that relapse is a hoofed mammal chittering in the shadows. The felons say, if you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings feast on salmon roe, octopus, daikon radish, kimchi, fennel spare ribs, beef bourguignon, tabbouleh, crab cakes, and chicken satay. They hammer together coops for rabbits and tortoises before their bodies begin to grow quiet. As the years pass, the felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings learn to hold our new babies lightly. They teach us that even violent men eventually grow small in hospital beds. They ask for honey ice cream to be spooned onto their dry tongues. When we throw open their curtains and our thick heels click across the room, they ask us to slow down a little bit, will ya? The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us that the urges may never go away and that there is no love without acceptance. Eventually, they lose hair and they lose children. They lose toolboxes and tax statements, 401ks and regular erections. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings teach us that a man's strength must move inward, that he will look off into the corner of the room, that he will surrender even his body. The felons who speak regularly at 12-step meetings die quietly while Foxes flickers on the TV. They teach us how the morphine dream pulls you by an umbilical cord through deep space. They speak their mother's names, the felons do. A young Jodie Foster chases her life while the felons unzip themselves from this great longing. Thank you. Okay, I've got 3 new ones that I want to end with. This one is one called The Body Politic. I had a body politic in night radio, but then I wrote another one, and then it kind of stalled out, and then I finished it recently. The Body Politic. Already wasted, I pull 2 green bottles of malt liquor from the cold case, smile at the clerk, stumble into the door, ding dong, come to on the floor of the Eureka County Jail. I wear a black sweatshirt, the one word loser printed on front. We sleep in Mandy's purple sheets, and I love him, not because I want to save him, but because I know I can't have him, and that means I'll never owe him anything. Incense burns blue and gold, and the losses all seem private until I get pregnant over Thanksgiving. Mom overnights me a plane ticket to LA, a clinic where my dad's cop buddy dropped his daughter, no sign out front. After, I get high under an American flag with guys from school, then fly up north. In the dream, a man returns from the dead, says he's been eating girl bacon. On my futon, I keep on bleeding. My boyfriend borrows the only car with a guy everyone says beats his girlfriend. I remember the bruises, my insurance card. I shouldn't be driving. They wheel me into triage, try to wipe away all the blood, like a walk last winter. I was crying and the dog's collar jangling. They do it again and it stops. After I'm discharged, I suspect the town's serial rapist has tapped my phone, and I call my dad and ask him for a gun, like something delicate I want to trample in the yard. What I mean, I can't say. until I returned to that town decades later, chasing my 2 children into the redwoods, the spongy soft bark, the banana slugs. We find that tree fort, that vet built deep in the forest where I was disabused of the American fantasy of the individual. Like my theory teacher ground into my head in grad school, I was made, shaped by a power that creeps inside of you or that you creep inside. A lumberyard I stumble into one rainy night, wet and lost. I climbed through the barbed wire, my apartment just over the hill. You can't outrun the world's brutality. You can't crawl inside an image or ride away on your bike down K Street. I learned how you are made and how it stays in detail, line by line, without meaning. And I'm going to teach a little workshop this summer called The Secret Heart, and I ended up writing a poem called The Secret Heart. 6 months after we wed, I pushed a button beside the locked doors of the cardiac care unit and entered my marriage. A buzzer rang and the sealed future clicked open. Inside the room, a machine attached to the bars alongside the hospital bed flushed death from my husband's heart, a thing rewired, rerouted, modernized. I skipped over a stream in my white mules and white slip dress, called in all my promises and chirped out lines I had read in a magazine. The room filled with the outline of my ideas, punctuated by the monitor's steady beeping. Inside the chest's sewn-up sternum was the deep green of the secret heart. My husband lifted his medicated flour bag of a head and said, "Don't help, just be." 20 years later, I see my hands brushing along the frame of death, the carriage of our union. Inside the chamber, I stand on a rock face, uncoiling all the wires. You can only enter like an old dog, needy, frail, face down on a kitchen floor. You must leave the passenger van of your majesty at the door. No longer cheerful, I've been stripped of all my helping. Instead, I track the spores, lick the ash down on all fours in this secret cellar, and still I don't know if it's like love this loam or how to be. Okay.
I want to read this last one, but let me just get it straight.
Okay. I need it for this one. Okay. This one's called In Extremis, a family story. And I guess it's sort of dedicated to my children. You, my dearies, see my flabby, all stretched out bag of a self. The self who whispers, "I hate all you motherfuckers," and then squishes in earplugs because I can't at 2 a.m. I pick up puppy shit with a napkin, collect TP rolls for the classroom, slam a picture frame off a nail. Then the next day, in front of me, a plate of fajitas. I'm so hungry. When I was young, I lived on nachos, no underwear. My roommate taped a sign over her bed that read, "I can die a little today." We rode bikes in tandem down K Street after the rain, and I did die a little. I moved out on foot, carried away in musty boxes the false belief that the world couldn't domesticate me. Now I think of Audre Lorde's erotic, the uses of the erotic, she says, as my relentless stack grows. Before I've had coffee because my desire kind of hemmed in, kind of got butter all over my clothes. The most time you ever get with your kids are the first 8 years. So who cares if there's another you? Sex isn't the erotic, but even so, I wanted to be used. I wanted to get use. Instead, I kick a hard ball over and over again. I spit on my fingers and rub my junk. How good the sheets smell in a life like a sped up video in which I sing Slim Shady in a crop tank. I'll use it all. I'll punch holes in the margins, slide over the crumbs, slide over the cover, leave crumbs. I'll die each day a little more. It's all so in extremis, this life, this body from which I pulled these kids out from inside of myself. And now they watch me get stiff, then release, get ripped, and then weep. And when I come to the end with questions of goodness, I'll tell them it wasn't love. It was so much more useful than that. It was the point of death, the growing and moaning, the respiration, the sloughing and piss, the last shuddering boundary of divine desire where I die and wake again and then crawl back to them from the river bottom, from the utter and total, the furthest outpost of my living body. Wow. Thank you, everyone.
Kim Young, everybody, another round of applause. Thank you, Kim. Next up, we have Holaday Mason, who is the author of 5 full-length collections of poetry: Towards the Forest, Dissolve, The Red Bowl of Fable and Poems, the She series of Venice Correspondence with Sarah Maclay, and The Weaver's Body, as well as 2 chapbooks, Interlude and Light Spilling from Its Own Cup. Her 6th collection, As If Scattered, will be published by Pittsburgh Press in 2024. Nominated for several Pushcart Awards, Mason has been published in Hotel America, Spillway, Solo, Pool, Poetry International, The Lowell Review, and more. She's also a portrait and fine art photographer focusing on the beauty of aging and humans as part of nature. She served as co-editor for Beyond Baroque's anthology, Echo 681. She also leads writing workshops at Beyond Baroque, as well as other places. Currently, she is poetry editor for online art and poetry magazine Furious Pure, and she was poetry editor for Mental Shoes. In private practice as a psychotherapist since 1993, Holaday lives in Venice, California. It's always a pleasure to welcome Holaday Mason. Holaday.
Oh my goodness, goodness, goodness. To be sandwiched between these 2 powerhouses. Wow. Thank you, Marsha. Thank you. We're here to celebrate. This is a gorgeous collection. If you don't have it, Creature. It's a beautiful, beautiful book by Marsha De La O and Kim. Wow. Okay. I'm going to start with new poems. Oh, Quentin, Jimmy, Yvonne, everybody, thank you so much for bringing us forward into the future. Really, I'm going to start with new poems, and you can see they're very new. They have scratches on them, right? That's always a risk. Then I'm going to read some work from the new collection, As If Scattered, and I'll just explain a tiny bit when I get to that. And this is to all of us elders and all of the young who will be elders. Little Bird Throat. I could not make it up the stairs in time to join the parade. Got slapped by an old woman named me. A stone wall built up inside my skeleton during the night, as if I'd slept obliviously within a stand of black pines that scattered spores of magazine images, mirages. In the hand mirror, all I could see was the back of my own head, which, under a magnifying glass, was such a mess of white bristling, the scalp pink as a sheared landscape. And yes, I had fallen asleep without clearing the dishes, wore black clothes covered with lint, while in the city haze, a few stars heroically stole their shining moments. In the filigree of morning, a scarlet bird tucked among leaves and thorns mimicked the wind-ruffled wings of the bougainvillea blooms, instinctively knowing the rules of hiding in plain sight, while the world moved like the blood pulsing within its little bird throat. And this is in honor of the 4th of July, and I don't think I need to say more than that. A bunch of gunshots. The animals all run inside, trip over each other, getting to the back of the closet for shelter. We take up our baseball bats. I'm nowhere near ready to sleep. You get a worried face. The secret is in plain sight. People want to blow things up. It's a noisy uproar. Didn't I see a small skull? A warning I just didn't understand? The skull, still bright on a ridge road. We barely avoid stepping on the milky snake side winding across our path in the dark cherry of an October evening. The circles of the snake's patterns twist like a vision that opens onto a snapshot of an old woman who measures out 3 morning pills, one for the past, another for faded ambition, and the third for the day arriving. As if it's the neck of a dangerous feral beast, she shakes the bottle gently. It rattles like the ice at the end of the dream we all had for many years, the jaw of blackness yawning as we floated adrift in a serenade of indolence. Still, the reptile seems harmless, so we follow it into the forest. We would like to see more. We want to believe there really will be a remedy. Absent green, a face at the window. In a rusted tin, one ivory taper melts. With your hands, you make shadow monsters roar in the glow, licking the walls. They scare you. They scared you when you were still a child who penciled the proper names of flowers in looped script before clumsily pinning the slip of paper inside your cotton underwear for safekeeping. Now fingers quiet in your lap form a bowl, but the shadows keep roaring, tangled, snaggle-toothed, gleeful, as if so very pleased to be admitted with no ticket, no demands, no grand plan. Perched in the medallions of eucalyptus leaves, a hunting owl hoots. Numb and cold, your feet could be prey. Headlights slash through the hedge. A lone driver guns by as if in a rage. You strain to see the face inside. Thank you. Now I'm going to read a few poems from the new collection, and it needs a tiny bit of explanation. The collection is made of what I call a core poem and then an erasure, a very informal erasure. So I will read the core poem first, and then I will, which I saw Forrest Gander do once, and it was so sexy, really. But it was Forrest, okay. So, so that's how these go. So they're in 2 parts, and I think there are 3 of them. And then I will make way for Marsha de la O. Ancient is always. Look how my hands are steady. Not a shake yet, no tremor. The daylight arrives, reads the abacus, the eras behind our pentimenti. We are always almost old until we are in our personal, imperfect homes of skin. So I protect this shared hydrangea bed where I count your vertebra as if casting oracle runes, running my fingers over ancestral land masses of yarrow, goldenrod, where once you were a bearded god, a giant groundswell, my fighting companion with unassailable, perfect teeth and baritone growls. But now my gait slower with my black oak cane ensures I won't bellow, won't win the always war. Neither will you. Nobody does. The daylight arrives. My hands are a giant groundswell. I run my fingers over oracles. We are imperfect in our skins. Tiptoeing. When you lay your head between my breasts, you're always whistling, seeing only rosy mountains. Sometimes it's just a matter of momentum, skirting what can't bear close examination. The midsummer is behind us, a leaping wild fox. Go ahead and holler off key. My red lipstick dispels a lot. I too pray not to panic at the moment of death. We align ourselves with both horizons, two jeweled birds who whip a filthy puddle into rainbow pinwheels. Come close to me, my love, close as you can. When you get here, I will make you something nice. Between both horizons, affection sees only my red lipstick. And then I'm going to close with this poem, and it's called Talking to Ashes. They are golden, so it must be tomorrow. Under a tree of dream catchers, the drought cracks oaks into panga. Oregon suffocates in smoke, hydrangeas and birches burn. The trees are uncorrupted in union, in communion, interspecies, carbon-fed with sunlight. They give birth to violins. While 4 chainsaws tear the tall eucalyptus across the street to rags, my index and ring finger bend over my thumb like a mother protecting a babe. The gesture was my mother's. The last of the family line, I carry the horned spine of the grandmother's bundle, so I live in both over and underworlds where signals travel from root to root, netting the globe. Debris flies the way grasshoppers do. Sawdust coats the sunlight like the marigold blooms, covering the graves on the day of the dead as destiny's candles shine, signals back and forth between all the departed. So I ask them to remember me, show me the way when I too return to the entrance. Signals travel back and forth between oaks, birches, between all the departed, netting the globe. They shine. Thank you, Marsha. You guys are in for a big treat. Thank you, Kim. Such an honor to read with you both.
Another round of applause for Holaday, please. Thank you, Holaday. I think when Forrest did that, he had a rock. We gotta get you like a stone from out in the garden to keep rhythm with. The woman of the hour, we have Marsha de la O, whose new book, Creature, came out from Pitt Poetry Series in January 2024, which is published through the University of Pittsburgh Press. Her previous book, Every Rabbiting Thing, also from Pitt, came out in 2019. Antidote for Night won the 2015 Isabella Gardner Award and was published by BOA Editions. De La O's first book, Black Hope, was awarded the New Issues Press Poetry Prize and was published by New Issues Press, Western Michigan University. Marsha is the recipient of numerous awards and grants, and she holds an MFA in poetry from Vermont College. She has published extensively in journals and anthologies, including 2 recent poems in the New Yorker, as well as poems in Kenyon Review, Prairie Schooner, and elsewhere. Please, everyone, welcome Marsha de la O to read from her new book, Creature.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. And Quentin, thank you for all the work you do for Beyond Baroque. I could tell stories about Beyond Baroque from a long time ago, but that would be like rambling. And as to what, I have to say thank you to Kim and to Holaday. I can't see you. I know you're out there. Thank you for all the ways that your presence and your being has sustained me throughout these many years. And in terms of the poems that I'm going to read tonight, I didn't think about June 15th being Father's Day weekend, but it is. And it happens that the book was written during the 5 years in which my siblings and I took turns going down to stay with my father so he could remain in his home. So naturally, one of the themes that runs through the book is him and poems about my father, as well as multiple other themes. But because it's the weekend that it is, those are the poems I'm going to read tonight. And the first one is called Once, and it's just for fun. My dad got in the truck and said, "Do you want to see me drive with my knees while I eat breakfast?" No one else was there. He had a knife and fork and a plate of eggs with potatoes, which he wedged into the steering wheel. I was kneeling sideways to see better and turned to face him. "Yes," I breathed. He jammed it into second and we rolled while he ate and steered with his knees. Happiness threads itself through time, and I still carry it from that day, especially where the road curved with houses perched on one side only and a steep slope falling away below. And this next poem jumps many years. It's called Forgetting to Eat. It's easy to forget to eat when I'm with my father. I subsume myself in him, his diet of dust and crumb. During the Depression, he raised rabbits his older sister slaughtered. He built the shipping crates while she skinned the bodies and dressed the meat. He was younger and allowed to be squeamish. All his life, he's looked away when a syringe fills with red. His blood is low, he tells me. It barely laps the shore. For this, he sleeps in his clothes, wrapped in a pullover, gloves, 2 throws, shoes beside the bed waiting, like a pair of ancient gildings, still willing to amble the long hall, now that his hunger is for heat, for the warmth inside of light, the want that carries him out back to sit full in sun and almost hear the birds. This next one is called Portrait of My Father, mise en scène. That mise en scène just means in the midst of the scene. And it references the fact that we mostly got to see him when he took us with him to work, which he did like one of us at a time, and we'd go to the shop where he had the studio. He was a glazier, and he had a large studio for glass, and also there was a warehouse right next to that, because they were trying to, they started it when LA was a fantasy place and there was a lot of call for stained glass windows in houses, and then everyone found out that they always leak. And so there wasn't so much, so they started trying to like distribute to hardware stores. So I had a little warehouse. Portrait of My Father, mise en scène. I don't see him. He's nowhere. He's already set me on a stool at his work table to help, filling 1-ounce bottles of acetone and lacquer thinner from a spigot attached to a 5-gallon can, the liquid clear with poison vapor, or faintly gold and viscous. The bottles march one by one to the spigot, my sticky amber soldiers wheeling abreast, each little man stepping up. The fluid fills them. Dusty skylight above this table, large enough for all the pieces. Glass from Germany, from Belgium, from Italy. The rondelles, the colored glass, milk glass, painted glass, stained glass. Nothing is clean. Shattered roses, violets torn from their vines. I'm alone. He's somewhere out back. He's gone. The ex-cons work the loading dock, picking and packing, stacking boxes on pallets. Grief has kept them lean. Light banks against their work desks. The kind of light that pools when you're going through the motions, when you can't live in the body you're in, but you can make it move. I've been warned not to speak to any of them, not to let my eyes meet theirs. They do not hurry. They bend over their work as if they could fold the past just so and fit it into a box sealed with strapping tape, as if exile were reverie. Without meeting their eyes, I breathe in their atoms. I breathe in the heat shimmering off the nape of their necks from the small flame, always lit, of bitterness, which is also called coming to work, also bereavement. The grainy light through the dust and chicken wire pours over my shoulders, over the fissure separating mother from child, shepherd from sheep, Christ from the pain he crouches beneath, all ministered to on my Father's grimy table. This next poem is called American Megafauna, and it has a word in it, incognitum, our incognitum, meaning our unknown one. And that comes from Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, when he was president, he was very concerned that people from Europe said that all the animals in North America were scrawny and squat and second rate. And this really bothered him. So when the first fossilized mammoth was discovered in upstate New York, he was thrilled. And he referred to it as our incognitum. And he could hardly wait to find out just how big it was. And the first estimates that they made on how big it was were wildly, wildly huge. And so that's why this is called American Megafauna. Our Father, leaking blood and water. Our Father, leaking earth. A private in the army, back when, enjoying free food and small duty until they meant to send him to Korea if he didn't shape up. He rose to corporal. His first child was born. He got a second job from late afternoon on, Oklahoma, where light lasts so long you can work 2 jobs and get home by full dark. The venerable American mastodon, our incognitum, our ritual for vanishing, as we are his witnesses, as his blood shudders in our veins, as he is arterial, as he is my artery. Shudder, an alarm called by vervets in the presence of a snake. To make such a call, to cry danger. The shudder in my body as I knock in the morning. Everywhere the Holy Spirit and fear. It's late and he hasn't come out. Light full, body stretched out. As blood throbs, I hear him, he's alive. He's saying, it's a beautiful spring morning. He's saying, what time is it? He's saying, I can get up. The dig at El Fin del Mundo exposes elephant bones scattered near spear points. The trapped animal no longer trumpets. He rears up, lunges forward as blood smarts. All our fathers, titans of the Ice Age, great beasts, their sparse ginger hair, their black gone silver, once ensnared, they linger on the surface for months. When I say Holy Spirit, I mean that which is elusive and everywhere, that which we all share. Water is holy to shark, fire to lodgepole, soft air over the seep lacquered with leaves to my incognitum, my Father sinking. And I have two more poems, and this is called My Father Died in the Fullness of Spring. He died May 12th. I was at a poetry reading, actually. My father died in the fullness of spring as petals began to brown. New buds were forming, but not many. Was it glorious? It was. Our backyard, like an aging showgirl. He nourished himself with light like any other plant. He would raise his chin and close his eyes. He sang snatches of Bing Crosby ballads, could whistle on key. He did not admit that he loved me. I never saw him cry until very late. He could keep it soundless, control his breath, be silent as a tear rolled down his cheek, then another and another. In this drought, I save every drop for my flowers. Some last only a day. He didn't acknowledge weakness or complain, but over years would not tend himself, body and mind, a forgotten garden. This final poem is not, this is a swerve away from my father. It is a poem for my fellow readers, my cohort, my friends, Holaday and Kim. It's called The First Time, and it's not that first time. But it is said a long time ago. I don't know if you know the singer Esther Phillips. Esther Phillips received a Grammy nomination in 1972. And she didn't win. Aretha won. But they were all the nominees were on the stage. And when Aretha stepped forward to receive, what was it, a loving cup? She took it in her hands and she turned around and she handed it to Esther Phillips. And the time I saw her singing, I was 18 and no longer in my family home. I have fallen into difficulty. The first time. If it's possible to go back to that first night and tease out that first moment when a future seemed likely, Esther Phillips was covering "Home is Where the Hatred Is" at the bowl with her exquisite diction. And up in the cheap seats, grown women all around me who knew that song wasn't about heroin addiction so much as the men sitting next to them leapt to their feet because they had the words by heart. And so did I. And we all felt compelled to rise for our anthem and sing those words out loud. The men beside us had no idea. That was the instant I knew it could be done. It would take time and a plan, but I was standing up and I wasn't singing alone. Thank you. And here's the part where I say my special thank you to Kim and Holaday. Because of you guys, I wasn't singing alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Holaday. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We have books for sale. We have a little bit of reception, so please feel free to stick around and hang out for a while. Thanks so much.